So a warm welcome to everyone. My name is Divya. I'm a journalist by profession. I started Radio Diva almost more than 2 years back, and this is a small initiative where we wanted people to vent out and enjoy and talk about their life. But slowly, eventually, we became a group where we share and amazing speakers, talented speakers, and very experienced speakers join us, and they share their wisdom with us. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and please subscribe to the Radio Diva on YouTube and be part of our happy go lucky community. We definitely need your help to take it to the next level, because alone it won't happen. I definitely need your help to take it to another level. So thank you so much for joining in. And yes, coming back to our amazing speaker for tonight, we have we have a TEDx speaker with us tonight, and that's the best part. I heard her TEDx. I think I forwarded it on the group, and I'm sure many of you would have watched her TEDx talk. So she is a child development consultant and a behavioral guidance counselor. She has a career which is spanning for 25 years in education industry. She has worked with industry leaders and edtech companies with school heads and college students, and she has been doing group counseling for teachers, for children, for all level people from from almost 25 years. She is very passionate about her work, and she is doing everything to raise awareness about mental health issues. And that's it. I mean, there is so much to talk about Sunita ma'am that this will be very less, but I'm super excited to introduce Sunita ma'am to each one of you. A warm welcome, Sunita ma'am, and such an honor to have you with us tonight. Thank you so much for coming on Radio Diva.
Thank you, Divya. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be here. And you rightly said, thank you for that long introduction. I hope I can live up to it. And when you talked about mental health, you rightly said that it is something that has become quite a challenge, not only for the young, for all age groups. And that's what I hope to talk about today through this platform, and try and generate some kind of awareness about mental health, and actually not just about why, what, and how to remedy issues, but just about conversations around mental health, which I really strongly believe is the first step towards addressing the problem. The fact that we at least recognize that it exists. So, like the topic says, conversations around mental health. So, when we're talking about mental health, it does strike us ki, who is a mentally healthy person? I mean, am I okay? Are you okay? Is my family okay? Are my children okay? And these are very valid questions that come to our mind. So, a person, I would say, a mentally healthy person is one who can deal with the day-to-day challenges that every one of us faces, and deal with them to a certain resolve them to a certain level, and also be a contributing member to society. Stress is there. I mean, stress is there in everybody's life. And how we cope with stress reflects upon our mental health at that point in time. And when we talk about health, it's not just a single point. It's like I am now mentally healthy and now I'm not. It's not a point on a graph with all people above it being healthy and below it being unhealthy. It's a continuum. I mean, I could be able to manage my children and the issues that the struggles and the conflicts that they present to me on a daily basis. But when it comes to maybe my work colleagues, maybe I'm not able to handle those stresses and those issues and conflicts. So the point where I am at on my mental health graph also changes depending upon situation to situation. Why do we need to have this conversation? Let me begin at the very bottom. We are a country of more than 1.3 billion, with almost half of us actually in the age group of 14 to 25, 30 years. And that's a huge number. And studies indicate that in that number, in the majority of our population, which is going to lead the country and take it forward tomorrow, half, one in every 7 has some kind of issue, mental challenge that they're facing, not sharing, and which needs to be addressed. Like I was saying, UNICEF has conducted studies in which 15 to 24 years in India, 1 out of 7 feels depressed and does not have an interest in doing things. And it's not just UNICEF, we see people around us. The lethargy and the mental challenge that we see them struggling with. We don't need people to conduct studies to show us that our young are struggling with their mental health. It's not uncommon. In fact, yesterday only, one of my daughter's friends was saying, she came over just to meet her socially, and she said, like, Auntie, ab kya karna hai? GK kya karna hai? I was actually taken aback, even though I'm in the profession that I am. A comment like that from a 25-year-old does not stop throwing you out of your orbit. What happened, what's happening with these children and with these youngsters that they are making statements like this. And it's not just youngsters, it's people of all ages. You see the elderly, you see the middle aged, you see the very young. Mental health challenges nowadays are everywhere. Moving on to conversations around mental health, this is something which really needs to be addressed by at the individual level. Organizations are doing it, institutions are doing it at some level. I mean, I wouldn't say it is a satisfactory effort. A lot needs to be done to open up these conversations, but we also need to take them up as individuals. Even if we look into our own families, it is very rare to see, to hear a conversation about how are you feeling happening on the dining table, in the living room. Whenever we talk about somebody's mental status, we don't like to talk freely about it. It's like in hushed tones. We may be able to talk freely about their physical health, their, तुम्हारी आँख कैसी है, and how is your stomach doing, and how are your knees doing. But when we ask questions about how are you doing mentally, suddenly the person gets taken aback, and people around them also are they kind of sit up, Okay, why is this person asking about their mental health? Is something wrong with her, with him? Hua kya? It puts you in an uncomfortable space, and that is what we need to fight against. We need to make this conversation a topic with which everybody is comfortable, which I can share, which you can share, children can share, elderly can share. But in today's society, a lot of things stop us from sharing. And one of the prime reasons which stops us from telling somebody else, ki, Bhaiya, look, I'm not doing okay. I'm feeling very anxious. I'm feeling really stressed. Help me, do something. What stops us? The first reason I feel that stops us is fear. fear of listening to comments. Like I've put together a few comments here. कोई बात नहीं, time से ठीक हो जाएगा. It's just a matter of time, don't worry. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling, heat inside. I'm breaking out into a sweat. I'm feeling very nervous. I'm not feeling comfortable. These kind of feelings everybody gets. But more often than not, what we hear is, koi baat nahi, thoda stress hai, you will be fine. Your friends are managing, you also can manage. Don't be such a, cry baby. कोई नहीं, थोड़ी सी टेंशन है, हो जाएगा ठीक. Our families never suffered from any mental health issues. And don't tell anybody, okay? We'll see what we do about it. Now, this kind of fear of hearing comments like this is a very real fear. And that is one of the reasons that stops us from having this conversation. Another reason is lack of trust. Now, if we just reflect and think, everybody in their life has somebody or the other with whom they share. Now, who is this person? This is the person with whom we have a very strong bond. It could be a friend, it could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be a colleague, it could be anybody, a relative. But this one person in front of whom we feel comfortable, we actually have a strong bond with this person. We trust them. We feel loved and protected in their presence. We feel safe. And we feel comfortable in the relationship. But when there is lack of trust, that is what triggers and holds us back from telling somebody else, look, I need help. I'm not okay. Another reason, I'll stop screen share for a minute. Now, I'd like to reflect on one more. I did talk about lack of trust and building strong relationships. But how is it that we end up having a relationship which is strong? How do we build up these strong relationships? Now, there's a lot of research. Social scientists are also doing research around this area. But it's actually common sense also. We don't need social scientists to tell us कि किसी के साथ अच्छे bond बनाना है. If you want to have a good bond with somebody, you need to at least pay them attention. You need to read their non-verbal body signals, their body language. You need to feel good in their presence. Like Daniel Goleman has put together a recipe of all these three things. You need to pay them full attention. You need to have a kind of synchrony, a non-verbal synchrony, which means that you need to be in sync. When you look into the other person's eyes, they need to understand that look. When you're tensing up your body, they need to pick up that non-verbal signal. That's what strong relationships are made of. A look, a gesture, a body language, a kind of signal through body language. The other person picks it up. And that is one of the foundations of having a strong relationship with somebody. And you also need to feel good in their presence. If you don't feel good in somebody's presence, I mean, it's a no-brainer. I mean, you don't really build a relationship with them. Another reason why we people don't share is low self-esteem. Now, I'll just share screen again here. Yeah, low self-esteem. Now, what are the signs that we have low self-esteem, or a person has low self-esteem? Things like when you're always doubting yourself, कि नहीं नहीं, I can't do this, I'm not worthy. This prize किसी और को मिल जाता तो अच्छा था. Why have they given it to me? There's always a self-doubt. The inner narrative is always about doubt. When you're always doubting yourself. Slowly and surely over the years, it leads to a person having low self-esteem. And a person with low self-esteem will not be able to have strong bonds and will definitely not be able to trust someone with their innermost feelings. People who don't trust themselves, very difficult to trust another person. Like I was saying, you're constantly comparing yourself to others. You're into pleasing behavior, people pleasing. What can I do for you? Do you need anything else? I mean, if you see it in kids, I see it in school every day. तुझे मेरी इरेजर चाहिए, हाँ ले ले. तुझे मेरी पेंसिल चाहिए, हाँ ले ले. You see it in adults also. People pleasing. They give their time, they give their personal possessions to the other person without any question. कि चाहिए, नहीं चाहिए, and putting their own needs behind everybody else's. And the last one is also there. I mean, people with low self-esteem also do not reinforce their boundaries. There are other reasons also that hold us back from sharing and from telling somebody else that, yes, I am in need of your assistance. One reason is lack of knowledge about available resources. Even if a person recognizes that, yes, now this is not, what I'm going through is not right. I can see this is not normal. I need help. But where do I go? What can I do? Whom can I ask? I don't want to share it with my immediate family. What are my options? Lack of knowledge about available resources. Another one is tendency towards self-reliance. This means that people think कि अरे ये तो मेरा problem है. It's not somebody else's problem. Why should I tell someone else? I can handle it on my own. And then these people resign themselves to their fate. Because not everybody is equipped and strong enough to resolve their own issues. Another reason is people sometimes feel mental condition hai, first of all, to recognize hi nahi karna hai. But if they do recognize it as a condition, then they feel कि इसका तो कोई इलाज ही नहीं हो सकता. ये तो टाइम से ही ठीक होगा, ये तो ऐसे ही रहेगा. सब different होते हैं, तो this I am also different. So this is not curable, and that's a belief in quite a few people's minds. कि mental conditions are not curable. There could be financial reasons, and then last but actually most important is the inability to recognize that there's a problem. What I am going through is not normal. What a person is going through, my friend is going through, is not normal. I am seeing that she is withdrawing from our social group slowly but surely. Let me just look into what the problem is. This is not normal. Itna bhi recognize karna is a big thing, is also the first step towards starting a conversation around mental health. So how do we tell that what you are witnessing or what you are probably going through is not what a normal mental condition should be, what your normal mental status should be. And a yellow signal should blink in your head, causing you to pause and introspect. I'll just share a few behavior patterns. Consistently feeling tired, fatigued, questioning your sexual orientation, being in a one-sided relationship, like I said, where you're always the giver, having suicidal thoughts, neglecting your personal hygiene, sometimes for weeks, constantly indulging in a negative self-talk. The internal narrative is always negative. Turning to food for instant gratification. Either you keep eating, a person keeps on eating, or they completely go off food or have unexplained stomach issues. Experiencing drastic changes in the sleep cycle. Either you're sleeping all day or the person is not able to sleep. Preferring to stare at a screen rather than talking to someone. Having unexplained crying episodes. Turning to high risk behavior like smoking, becoming sexually promiscuous, experimenting with hard drugs, with alcohol. Now, I wouldn't say that all of these, if you've experienced once, then that's a problem. No, that is not. But if these kind of behaviors become a pattern and there is repetition and it lasts for 2 to 3 weeks, then it is time to sit up and take note. A yellow signal should go off in your head. You know, this something is going wrong, something is happening. I need to talk to this person. Or if it is you who's suffering, then you need to talk to an expert. And this is not just me saying, but WHO says that all mental health disorders that you see in adulthood start by the age of 14. But because they are left undetected and untreated, they turn into what we call mental health conditions by the time the person reaches adulthood. So what can we do about this? We would either be the sufferer or the helper. Employers, schools, colleges, they could give people a platform, a safe platform where there is no judgment and there is no fear of disclosure. I've seen many of my clients saying, no, I don't want to tell anybody. Will you tell someone? Will you, if it's a child, the child, first question they ask, ma'am, will you tell my parents if I tell you what is going on in my head? Fear of disclosure. Same thing with youngsters, same thing with older people. नहीं, हमारी family को नहीं पता लगना चाहिए. My friend circle should not come to know. So if institutions and families can provide each other and their employers and their students a space where the person feels and is assured that there will be no disclosure and nobody's going to judge you, tell us what's going on, give them a voice. That's a huge step towards starting a conversation. Another thing is role modeling. Now, a lot of us are in a position of power or authority wherever we are. You may be a parent and you may be a teacher, you may be a manager, you may be running a business. You know, you are in somewhere or the other, you are in a position of authority. And if you show the people around you some empathy, that I feel for you, I feel for what you're going through, I can see that you're going through an anxiety attack. It's okay. I can see that you're depressed. It's all right. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. If I can't help you, I'll get somebody to help you. And if you exhibit this empathy, it has a ripple effect. Others see it, that fine, it's okay to recognize that this person is going through some kind of challenge, and it's okay to help out, offer help. And another way of doing this is to get to know people.
Ma'am, someone
Yeah.
has requested if you can make it full screen. They want to read the lines. So if you can make the PowerPoint slideshow. Perfect.
Yeah, does that help?
Thank you so much.
This is where we were at. So another important point I would emphasize upon here is that you need to get to know the people around you. The employers need to get to know their employees. The teachers and the educators need to know their pupils, their students. They need to know their stories so that they can spot a problem. If I don't know a person, how will I know that the kind of behavior they're exhibiting is not normal for them? Why is this person so quiet? Maybe that's the way they are. They are introvert. But that I can only tell if I know them. If I'm familiar with their behavior patterns. But if I'm not, it is very difficult to spot a person going through a mental challenge. Another way of doing it is people in the position of authority can share their own stories. I can tell my children that when I was a youngster, this is what I faced. These are the challenges I faced. This is how I dealt with them. And there were some which were left unresolved also. But the minute I say that, it gives such a strong message to the person who's listening that, oh, look, this is the person in authority and they are saying these things. If it's okay for them to go through to struggle, I think it's okay for me also to struggle. It gives them an opening, a path on which they can put themselves and which hopefully will lead to healing. Role modeling is very strong way of pushing your point across. And like I said, if you are a parent, you are in a position of authority, you can educate yourself. See, what happens is a lot of the children, especially youngsters and teenagers and the young adults, a lot of their struggle emanates from the fact that the family doesn't accept the kind of world that they are growing in. And that is something which a parent really needs to come to terms with. Their world is very different from what we grew up in. The youngsters in the age group of teenagers up to 25, 30, the challenges that they are facing are very different from what we can't negate them. And that's where the parents come in. They are the biggest stakeholders. If the person having an issue is a youngster, then the biggest stakeholder is the parent. And for them to be able to communicate to the child that I understand what you are going through is different from what I went through. Your challenges are different. I recognize them. I feel for you. I empathize with you. Tell me what's the problem. If I can't help you, I'll get somebody else to help you. Share with me without judgment, without fear कि okay, मम्मी को बता रही हूँ तो वो तो जाके पापा को बता देंगे and then I'll get it. We see it all around us actually. Children, not children I would say, but youngsters and even young adults also always on the screen. रात के 2 बज रहे हैं, 3 बज रहे हैं. This is also behavior which is taking them away from one-on-one relationships, from creating actual bonds, not with their screens, but with people. And that is the foundation of having a high self-esteem, of having rich relationships, of having confidence in the relationships that fine, this is the person I can trust, of building trust. Children don't want to accompany parents on family outings. And it's happening in every family, it's not just one family. We see it all around us. But then I wouldn't blame the child. I wouldn't say that the issue lies with the child only. It's also the parent who shuts the channels of communication by not empathizing with the challenges the children are facing on a day-to-day basis in their lives, in their world. So providing a supportive environment is also something a parent can do. And on an individual level, we also need, it's there are some things I would say which a person can control, but there are also a lot of things which a person can't control. And recognizing the difference between the two helps us to keep our mental balance. Things like actions of others. उसने मुझे ये बोल दिया. Can I control what somebody else says? I can't. Can I control the past and the future? I can't. My boss said this to me. My wife said this to me. My husband said this to me. I can't control what they are saying to me. But yes, I can control how I react to that. I can control my thoughts. A person can control their actions. Nobody can control what others think about them. But yes, they can control their own inner narrative. What is my inner voice saying to me? What is repeating in my head all the time? If I'm entering a room, is my inner voice saying, go and quickly look for a chair and sit down. Don't stand in the middle of the room. People will look at you and judge. They'll see how fat or thin you are, how tall or short you are, how dark or fair you are. They'll see your clothes. Nobody's forcing me to have these thoughts. These are all my the inner person who's speaking to me, my inner voice. And these are in my control. We can be conscious of them and change our inner narrative. We are in control of the goals that we set. So I'll just leave you, stop my presentation here with this one slide and give you about 10-15 seconds to just take a look at this. This is how we can help ourselves as individuals and be more conscious of what is in our control and what is not in our control. What is not in our control should stop bothering us. Easier said than done, I agree. But it's a journey, and all of us can keep trying on a daily basis and move towards a healthier mental state.
So I think it was a great discussion. I think everyone is just happy listening to you. And I think each one of us agreed totally with you, Sunita ma'am. All the points, your presentation was absolutely bang on, and it was to the point, and it was very much self-explanatory that yes, the discussion around mental health has to be normalized, and each one of us will have to contribute to it. It's important. And yes, let's take it forward. Let's be the torch bearers of change instead of waiting for someone else to bring about that change. Let's normalize it in our heads, and the change will start with us.
Yes,
Right, Sunita?
absolutely, Divya. As a parting note, I would like to say that I mean we don't have to become like torch bearers and make it a you know what's the word for it? I'm not getting the word. You know, usko in common parlance you call it jhanda morcha. You don't have to make a thing out of it. You have to make it small in your head and start the conversation at home. Home is the first place where you can actually your family, you know what they're like, you know their behavior patterns. Agar kuch gadbad dikhti hai, don't shut your eyes, open them and see what's going on. Chalte chalte, I would also like to say that please keep a tab on people around you.
And on that note, thank you so much, everyone, for tonight. And I hope you liked it. And if you want any particular topic to be discussed, please write it on the comment box, and let's forward it to our loved ones who need to listen to such topics. And yes, have a good night, and see you next week. Thank you.